Hey, you guys, how are you? How are you? How are you? So listen, I am going to just do a few adjustments and then we're going to get started. Thank you all for coming in. Thank you so very much for coming in. Hey, y'all, I see you. I see you. I see you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. So, listen, today is the second part in a series that I am doing related to filing your nonprofit organization. Okay. One of the things that I often talk about is that people start their nonprofit organizations without setting up the structure, without preparing for their organizational systems. So today I want to talk about filing your 1023 form too early. Okay. That's one of the biggest and most expensive mistakes new nonprofit founders make. Before you submit your application, you need to have a really solid foundation, or you risk delays, you risk denials, or worse, you build a nonprofit that's not fundable. Okay. And again, your organization or the filing of the 1023 form is stating that you have already established the organization, right? So when you first file without doing the things that I'm going to walk through with you, then you find yourself in jeopardy of having a whole lot of problems. Okay. So we're going to talk about getting ready to file your IRS form with confidence. Okay. I've also provided a worksheet for you. A 1023 prep worksheet, as it were. I provided this for you because I really want you to be clear about what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, and walk you through the process. Okay. The purpose of this whole thing is to make sure that you understand that the 1023 form is not a starting point, it's a milestone. Okay. And we want to build on your authority while guiding you through your checklist and your readiness tool. Okay. This is the part of the founding part or the preparation part that that founders skip. Okay. And this again is what leads them to getting denied or getting stuck. All right. Are you all ready? Thank you guys for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for subscribing as well. I appreciate this. All right. So if you're ready to file your 1023 form and you want to get your 501c3 status, I want you guys to be prepared. All right. Here's the part that no one tells you about. Here's the part that no one tells you about. If you file too early with the wrong information or the wrong structure, then your organization is put in jeopardy of not having the funding that it needs, not having the community support that it's going to be required, because remember, you are filing to be a community based organization. So if you file too early or with the wrong information, what's the wrong information? The wrong information is not knowing the roles and responsibilities of your board, right? The wrong information is not knowing how to raise money. The wrong information is believing that your nonprofit status is what's going to lead to funding, and that's not true. And again, when you start or file your 1023 form without doing the things that I'm going to go through with you first, you are going to be stuck. I can't tell you the number of people that say, Jen, I started my nonprofit and now I'm stuck. Jen, I got my nonprofit organization, but I don't have any funding. Jen, I got my nonprofit organization and now my board can't help me. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but I'm paying for everything out of my pocket. Why are they there? It's because they did not file with the right structure. Okay. They started without the right structure. And again, this is what people don't talk about. All right. Not your fault. You just didn't know what you didn't know. But we're about to get into it. Okay. Again, not wanting you to file too early and not wanting you to file without the proper structure. Because now what happens is you get stuck, you don't have any funding, You don't have a strategy. You just have a letter from the IRS and a long list of mistakes to fix, right? A long list of mistakes to fix. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but we don't have any funding. Now you got to fix that. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but now I got to replace my board. Now you got to fix that. Jen, I started my nonprofit organization, but we don't have any donors. We don't have any funders. Now you got to fix that. Right? And why are you there? It's because you did not do these things that I'm going to be sharing with you before you filed the 1023 form. Okay? So in this video, I'm going to break down for you exactly what you really need to have in place before you file that 1023 form and how to avoid the common traps that hold 90% of new nonprofits back. 90% of new nonprofits start with no structure, no strategy, no funding, no board engagement, no donors, paying for everything out of their pocket. Why? Because they've made these mistakes. Truth number one, the IRS cares about your structure. The IRS cares about your structure. The 1023 form isn't just paperwork, it's a test. It's a test. The IRS is asking, who do you serve? They're asking, what are your programs and your activities? They're asking, what is your budget? They're asking, how are you governed? They're asking, are you set up to deliver public benefit? They're not talking about your passion. They're not talking about what you want to do. Okay. So if your answers are vague, incomplete, or cut and paste, that's even worse, right? Cut and paste from Google or Cousin Chat, you're asking for rejection. You're asking for lack of funding. Or worse, you're asking for your organization to have the paperwork and now you can't move forward with delivering your program. Why? Because there's no money. There's no money, right? You're not able to show, to share, to speak, to communicate to your donors, to your funders, to your supporters, to your contributors, why they should invest in what you do. Now you've started it, right? You've been vague about what you're doing. You've been vague about, you just know that you want to do something great. You want to serve the community. You want to help that's all well serving. But the 1023 form is not just paperwork, it's a test asking, are you ready to fund this organization? Who are you going to serve? Are you ready to govern? Are you set to deliver public benefit? Okay. Truth number two, that when you fill out the piece of paper, the 1023 form, and you don't have the cost of running the organization, in the 1023 form, it asks you, what are your financial projections for the next 2 to 3 years? What's your financial projections for the next 3 to 4 years, right? So the truth number two is your budget, your ability to raise the funds tells a story. Most new founders throw together a budget with random numbers, right? $100,000 in grants, $50,000 in donations. It sounds great, right? No. The IRS wants to see a realistic, a reasonable, and a mission aligned budget. They're asking, does this budget match your programs? Does it show that you understand nonprofit organizations and operations? It asks you on that short form that most of you filled out. It says, do you, let me read exactly what it says in the short form, the 1023 short form. It says, have your annual gross receipts exceeded $50,000 in any of the past 3 years? And or do you project that your annual gross receipts will exceed $50,000 in any of the next 3 years? That means you have an idea of how to raise money. What are gross annual receipts? Money. Money that you know how to raise, money that you know how to bring in. So if you don't have a budget in place, that tells a story, right? The people that say, Jen, I started my nonprofit, but we don't have any funding. Jen, I started my nonprofit. I'm paying for everything out of my pocket. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but I can't get started until I have a grant. But that's not what the application says. The 1023 form says that you have a budget, you have a reasonable and realistic idea of where money comes from. I want you guys to have this together before you fill out that piece of paper. Okay? Truth number three, your program matters. Your program design matters. Okay? By definition, a program is a group of activities that are intentionally and strategically designed to meet a need or designed for outcomes or impact. That's what a program is. A program is not, I want to help people. A program is not, this is what I want to do. That's not a program. The 1023 form says you know how to impact or benefit your community. All right. If you say, we just want to help people, Jen, but you don't have a specific outcome or plan of how you're going to do it, then how can you come up with the cost? If you don't know what the outcome is going to be, if you don't know what the plan to get to outcome is going to be, then how can you possibly put together the money or the budget to accomplish that end? Right? You want to be able to articulate to your donors, your funders, your supporters, your contributors, the return on their investment, right? It's not just free money. So before you fill out the 1023 form, you want to be able to speak about, you want to be able to clarify, you want to be able to articulate, you want to be able to describe what services do we provide, who does it benefit, and how are you going to measure success? Why is measuring success important? Because now you're able to communicate, to show, to share, to demonstrate to your donors, your funders, your supporters, and your contributors the return on their investment. They're investing in your success. They're not investing in your status. They're investing in your result. They're not investing in the fact that you got a piece of paper that says you completed an application. Your grant funders are looking at funding organizations that know how to get to success, that know how to solve the problem, that know how to clarify and describe how they get to the outcome. Have you guys seen a grant application? They're going to ask you about your program design. How long is this program? At the end of this program, how are you going to show that the need was met? Why is that important? Because if they are investing in your program, they want to make sure that the program works, that the program can, in fact, solve the problem. This is a reality check. This is a reality check. The 1023 form is your last step. It's not your first step. I know there are people out there that'll say, I can help you start your nonprofit. I can do the paperwork. I can do the paperwork. The paperwork is not first. The paperwork does not mean you started a nonprofit. It's just paperwork. It's just an application. That application should be last. Okay? The 1023 form should be a reflection of a well thought out, community centered, fundable nonprofit, not your starting point. If you're still trying to figure out who's on your board, if you're still trying to put together your mission, if you're still trying to figure out how much money do you need, if you're still trying to figure out where the donors and funders come from, if you're still trying to figure out how you're going to pay for this, you're not ready to file the 1023 form. And that's okay. That's okay. Before you file, here's what you need to have in place, okay? The first thing that you need to have in place is a clear and specific mission. What is a mission, Jen? A mission, a mission defines, a mission defines what the problem is, who has the problem, and what does impact look like. That's what a mission is. A mission is not, Jen, I want to help single moms. Jen, I want to be able to open up a transitional house. That's not a mission. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have a very clear, specific mission. Why is the mission important? Because it defines the urgency for your program, it defines what result is going to be, it defines who has the problem and who are you to solve it. All right. The next thing that you're going to need to have are three committed board members. Now, I can't tell you how many people say, Jen, I started my nonprofit. Somebody said, put three names down and you can change them later, right? So you put down your mother, your brother, your dog, your cat, your fish as board members, and now they're not engaged. And now they're not able to help you grow the organization. And now you're stuck in doing everything by yourself. When, if first, you identified who are the board members. You know what their roles and responsibilities are. If you do that first, now you're not wasting time having to stop and start. Now you're not wasting time saying, oh my gosh, now I've got to go out and find new board members. Jen, we're going to have to do our board all over again. I had to let all my board members go, Jen, and we had to start all over. No, do it right first, right? Create a realistic startup budget. Remember, the 1023 form asks, do you or how do you anticipate generating gross annual receipts? That means you know how much the program costs. You know how much it costs to run the organization, to set a budget. What's a budget, Jen? A budget is a forecast, right? The 1023 form asks you for a projection, a forecast of how much money are you going to bring in for the next 3 to 4 years. So set your realistic budget before you fill out that 1023 form. All right? Put together your core program with measurable outcomes, okay? And plan to raise your money without grants. Plan to raise your money, your first dollars, without grants. Why? Because the grant funder may take 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 9 months more before they make a decision on who's going to get the grant. Does that mean you cannot operate? You cannot do your program until you get a grant? And then when those grant dollars run out, where's money going to come from? All right. So plan where your dollars are going to come from, even if you don't have a grant to start. Listen, I walk through all of this in my nonprofit startup checklist. If you guys missed yesterday's video, in yesterday's video, I put a link for my free nonprofit startup checklist. Okay. All you got to do is go to the video that I did yesterday, and it talks about a checklist of how and what you should be doing when you're starting your nonprofit. Okay. Look in the description. It's free. Okay. It's free. Please like and please subscribe. All right. Because I'm going to be doing another video tomorrow that talks about why you should never chase a grant without doing these things first. Now, for those of you guys who are new to me, my name is Jennifer. I am a grant writer. I've been writing grants for 39 years. I've written for hundreds of millions of dollars in grants. I'm also a professional fundraiser. Okay. I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars in funding from the other streams of revenue. I am known as the nonprofit expert because I have worked in, run, led as the executive director many nonprofits in my career. And I've also helped thousands of organizations, both nationally and internationally, run and fund their nonprofits. Okay. So if you've been looking for an answer, if you've been looking for help, if you've been looking for real information, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Again, to yesterday, I did a video and it talked about the nonprofit startup checklist. Go ahead and download it. It's over in the description and it's free. Okay. If you haven't grabbed it yet, go grab it now. Did I say it was free? It will save you time, it will save you money, and it will save you frustration. Okay. It will save you time, it will save you money and frustration by doing it wrong and then having to redo. By doing it wrong and then being stuck. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but now I'm stuck. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but I wasn't able to start yet because I didn't know where to begin. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but I'm paying for everything out of my pocket and I don't know how to get out of that cycle. Okay. Listen, I've helped thousands of founders just like you not only file your 1023 form, but to fund your organization, to ensure that you have the money that is needed to operate your program, to build your nonprofits that actually work. Listen, you can't skip steps. I talk about things that nobody else talks about in this field. Why? Because I don't want you to waste your shot, to waste your time of starting a nonprofit and not having the funding to keep it going. I want you to build strong and file right. Okay? Build strong and file right. 90% of organizations are operating with less than $50,000 a year. Underfunded, don't have enough money to hire help, don't have enough money to generate to expand their program, don't have enough money to grow or scale. Why? Because they did not start properly. That has nothing to do with money. They didn't start properly. They didn't start with the plan. They didn't start with a strategy. They didn't know. They didn't know I have to start knowing how to raise money. They didn't know that. They thought file your piece of paper, get your nonprofit, and you can get a grant. And so they just thought that once they got their piece of paper, that grants and funding was just going to fall out of the sky, that they would not have to put together a structure, that they would not have expertise, that they would not have to know where does funding come from? Who's going to write the grant? What are the expectations of the grant funder? I didn't know, Jen. Listen, I want you to build strong. I don't want you to make the mistakes that so many make. All right. If you do these things before you file that 1023 form, you'll be a lot more clear, a lot more confident, and a lot more successful. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. All right. So listen, in the next video, we're going to talk about why you should never chase a grant without doing this first. I'm known as the grant guru. Again, I've been writing grants for over 39 years. I've written many, many books about it. If you guys go back through any of my videos, you hear me talk about grant writing, you hear me talk about fundraising, you hear me talk about donor acquisition. All these things are on my channel. So I'm really glad that you're here. I hope that you will like, I hope that you will comment, I hope that you will subscribe. I hope that you will share, and I hope that you will get the free resource that I'm providing for you through this video. Okay. So make sure again that you subscribe so you don't miss out. And I will see you tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow where I talk about choosing grants and making sure that you are doing the work properly. All right. Thank you guys again for coming in. My name is Jennifer. I am your nonprofit expert. Over 39 years of experience helping organizations put together plans and strategies, systems, and tools. So not only do you start your nonprofit, but that you start it with the confidence and the clarity to grow it, to sustain it, okay? And to deliver the mission and the impact and the benefit that I know that you want to serve. Okay. I'll see you all.